Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. So this review today will be a little bit different, as are so many of my reviews. This is going to be reviewing a nice little brain teaser puzzle called the Marble. It's made by a company called Hanayama. They're a Japanese company, very well known for their die-cast metal puzzles. And they have quite a few of them. I think 100 is not too high a number, maybe 70, 80. So they made quite a few of these metal puzzles. They're very famous in the puzzle community. So they make great brain teasers, very good quality. Their puzzles are very tactile. It's heavy, die-cast metal, good quality. Really fun to sort of mess with and play with and do these different maneuvers. And it ranges from difficulty of 1, which is relatively easy, to 6, which is considered very hard on the Hanayama scale. So I've bought quite a few of those over the past few days to weeks. You can find them actually pretty commonly. I mean, they sell them in Barnes & Noble, where I picked up all of mine, but you can also buy them obviously online, Amazon and puzzle stores online, etc. There's a couple of really classic ones that they do sell. So I've been working on this one. I'm going to use this puzzle as a way to kind of start talking about solutions. There's a lot of YouTube videos by people who are really into puzzles talking about solutions. And I thought that I would just kind of add my voice to the mix. You can find solutions of this puzzle quite easily. But I have noticed that sometimes when you see those YouTube videos, the explanation may not be quite, as good, or maybe the way they show it, the angle is not quite right. You look at the comments and some people who don't quite understand how things go. Some of the really, really amazing puzzle solvers are also, from another country, and so their English can be a little bit accented. Not to say that my English is perfectly without an accent, but it could be a little bit hard to understand. There are other ones who are brilliant, like for instance, I think a guy named Chris Ramsey is his name. I love watching his videos, but the problem is he just sort of solves them for you, and it's like he solves them cold, which is amazing to watch, but there's not a whole lot of explanation, and maybe he just sort of assumes that if you're seeing him do it on YouTube, then the solution is self-evident. But a lot of times that's not necessarily the case, especially when you are just sort of on a video fiddling around. All of a sudden it's like, woo, it's open, it's done, you've solved it, and you don't really know how it goes about, how that puzzle solution goes about being done. So hopefully I can add a little bit to that by maybe providing a little bit better explanation. And any comments, giving me some feedback would be great, because maybe again my explanation is not very good either. I'm sure all of the other YouTube puzzle solutions, they all think that they've done a pretty good job showing you, but then people obviously will feel differently. So let's see how this goes. This is the Hanayama marble. You can clearly see that engraved, and almost all of the I think all of the Hanayama puzzles have the name and then the brand engraved on their puzzles. And oftentimes when the goal, and by the way, the goal of all these Hanayama are the same, which is to separate it into the component and then put it back together. First disassemble and then assemble. Where they put the name in some of these puzzles is actually critical. Okay, so in this case, here's the challenge. You take it out of the box. You have a marble. The marble is clearly in 2 pieces. You can see it moving. They come together in like a sinuous S shape, and it's locked in this square prison. And the prison is also very clearly in 2 pieces as well. Now, in my version, when I bought it and took it out of the box, it was sort of all locked and stuck together. And that could just be because it might have been in its packaging for a very long time. So when I first got it, I really couldn't, do anything with it. And then only after just sort of moving it around, and then I suddenly realized I could do this. Boom, I could twist it. So then I got pretty excited, because this must be like the first move, right? A lot of these puzzles go through various moves, 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves. So I think, okay, I got the first move. You have to actually, twist it up, and now now we're in business, right? We can start moving this marble around and separate it. And I thought at first in the beginning that this marble had to be in a particular position in order to even make this thing happen. And later on, of course, I found out I was wrong. The reason I couldn't do it initially was just because the puzzle was a little bit stiff. And I soon discovered, of course, after messing with it and really loosening it up, that you can do this just, with the marble in any position. You can basically make this move and twist it up and down. So again, let me show it to you from different angles. Twist from the front and then from the side. You're just like rotating it. Okay, it starts off here. You rotate it here on the side. So not much to it. Okay, so here it goes. Boom. Now, the problem, of course, is you very quickly find out that you're stuck. After you make this move, you are no closer to freeing the marble than you were before. And for a while there, I thought that maybe the space from here to here would be large enough to maybe have you separate the marble into its component pieces that will pop out, but that is not the case. However, in making this move, some hints, very valuable hints, are given to you. Now, number one, the hint to the solution of this puzzle is that the fact that you know that the marble comes in two pieces, that they come together, is a hugely important fact. And second, my initial conceit, which is definitely not unique, that you maybe have to have this marble in a certain position in order to make this move. While it didn't turn out to be the case for this move, is also an important concept, an important hint. So when you put that together, does the marble have to be in a certain position in order to make a move, and ultimately that the marble can be, is supposed to be split in half? Those two thoughts are what is going to lead you to the solution. So I'm going to now show you the solution. I will give you time to stop the video or stop watching it if you don't want to see it. Okay, so here we go. We're about to spoil it. So indeed, this move is a red herring. It's meant to excite you, and it's meant to kind of get you going, so to speak, but it leads nowhere. Okay, and the hint that it leads nowhere is that you can do this regardless of what the marble is doing. Okay. And that, ironically, means that this can't be the right move. However, the question then begs to be asked, is there another move that you can make with these two pieces here, with the black pieces that make up the square? Is there another move that you can make that is not this motion? It's another motion that actually will release the marble, but that motion can only be completed with the marble in a particular orientation. And how does that relate to the marble being split open? So the idea, obviously, is if you can position this marble in a fashion that each half is sort of placed in a separate black square, and then you basically make another move, you will then release these two black pieces and release each half of the marble in its black piece all together in one motion. The question is, what is the orientation of the marble and what is the motion to make that happen? So once you've arrived at that, it's just a matter of experimentation and just a little bit of maybe logic. Here you can see that there's a line, right? That's obviously where the marble is going to split in half. Here we have the hinge. That's obviously, this is the gap that represents where the square pieces are going to actually be able to be moved. So it makes sense to maybe line up this split on the marble with the split on the black square. And then instead of doing this obvious maneuver, which we know is useless, let's start, making other moves. Now, look, if you can't do this, and this is not the right solution, there really isn't a whole lot of other options with the way they put this together. There's not a whole lot of other ways of moving these pieces. So if we can't do this, what else can we do? Well, let's twist it the opposite way. Instead of twisting it like this, let's Let's go 90 degrees. Let's do this. And so look what happens. I do this, and what am I doing? I'm twisting it now front to back instead of side to side. And do you see what's happening here? Once I make that move, and then once this thing is lined up with the gap here and here, I'm going to put it back together again so you can see. Here's the line separating the marble, and you line it up with the gap here and down here where the black squares are moving. This is the area where they're apart, so they can move. And instead of twisting it this way, okay, we don't want to do this. We're going to twist it this way, okay? And that is going to split the marble in half, just like that. And when you split it in half, you separate the black piece with the marble inside the black piece. And now, here we go. Boom. All right. And then, of course, it's trivial to take the marble out like so. All right. So hopefully you followed all of that. I'm taking my time. It's a little bit longer video than other YouTube videos, but I'm hopeful that you can kind of follow the train of thought and also see what I just did to put it all apart. Okay. So the downside of this puzzle, this is rated a number 4 out of 6 on the Hanayama scale. The downside of this puzzle is that you can actually, by just randomly turning the marble, you will, by luck, sometimes just sort of line up the right line with the right orientation, and it'll just kind of fall apart, right? You just keep maneuvering, you're twisting every which way, and then just by random chance happen to twist it completely apart. So the true key for any Hanayama puzzle is you can't just accidentally disassemble, but you also then have to, of course, put it back into its original shape, both so that it's ready for the next person to try it, and also to prove your understanding of the actual solution of the puzzle. Because if you just did it accidentally, then you will find that assembling it then is not so easy if you didn't understand what you were doing to do that, to disassemble it in the first place. So you can see how the two halves fit together beautifully into this little marble, this little circle. Nice fit. And what are you going to do now to put it together? Because if you put this marble together like this, and then you try to, let's just say, put it in here, you can't really do that. Like, you can put this in here first, and then you assemble it. So now the marble is in one piece very nicely, but you can't get the other piece in because now the marble, of course, is in the way. So, for those of you who have very good memories and who are very good at kind of recreating one step versus the other in order to bring it back to its original solution, it's probably trivial, but for those of us who are not so good, you do have to understand what's going on in order to be able to put it together. So you need to go about doing it backwards. So essentially, remember, you got them apart by essentially orienting the marble in such a way that each half is sort of in its proper position in its own black shell. And then when you twisted the black shell apart, you were also able to twist the marble apart. Remember that the marble in any other orientation would prevent the black shell from being twisted apart. So you essentially recreate the line. So I'm gonna bring it real close. So here again, the half of the marble is symmetrical. It doesn't really matter how you put it in. Make the half circle, this line up with this gap here. You do the same thing for that. Notice that these two are identical. You want to have them exactly the same. Okay, so here you go. Take a good look at that. Again, notice that both black squares or partial squares or shells are identical position, okay? Once everything's in proper position, you want to put one behind the other, like so, okay? I'm going really close, you can see it. just like so. You put it like that, and then you're going to rotate it forward. And as you do so, you see how it's bringing its half of the marble into position, and then you slide it forward like this. You move it, and voila, you're back into its original position like this. Okay, so hopefully you were able to appreciate what I just did. I'm going to now take it apart and put it back together again a couple times just so you can see. So here you go. You know, it's completely random. You're trying to break it out. You can't break it out. It's already stuck. Okay, here we go again. So now we're going to rotate the marble until we have a nice line that's going to line up just like so, lining up here and here. And then we're going to twist in a new motion just like that. And you're going to have to wriggle a little bit, but here we go. And now you're out, okay? Sometimes it can get a little bit stuck, but it's okay. All right, you're out. And here we are. Now you're aside, okay? Now, to put it back together again, you want to put each half of the marble in its own shell, just like this. Again, notice the two are in identical positions. And then you put one behind the other into this mark, just like that. And then you're going to rotate it forward, and it will bring this right into position again. It'll bring the marble together, and then you're done. So hopefully you can see how that is meant to be done. It's a really neat little puzzle. The only downside again is that it can be accidentally solved if again you just happen to have the marble in the right position and then you make the other move instead. Granted, that's not so common because the easier move is this move, and this tends to happen quite a bit. And of course the other move that I'm doing here is prevented by the marble in the wrong position. So you would have to actually, by chance, if you're not thinking, you have to by chance, you would have to have the marble just like that, and then just as the marble is spinning into this position, you then happen to make this move, and then that of course gets you out, all right? Not impossible, but I mean, obviously if you're fidgeting with this thing constantly for hours on end, you can probably have that happen. But again, I'm going to show you again, how do you get it back together? Make sure that the black pieces have this little triangle here and here. Make sure it's exactly the same. Make sure that the marble, the half of the marble is here with the lines right about here, and then move it behind like this. Okay, so go behind, lock it like that, and then just rotate it forward. And as you rotate it forward, as the two black shells, the black squares, that these two come together, it will also bring the half marble that's inside with the half marble here, and then it makes the full marble, and then you twist it away, you're back. Level 4 out of 6, which I think is a pretty appropriate level of difficulty for this particular puzzle. So I've been going on for about 20 minutes, really taking my time explaining it, showing it multiple times. So hopefully you can see how it's done. It's like 12 bucks, a really nice little diversion, nice little fidget device, cute little brain teaser. Definitely recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, take care.